Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Sounds the Valley. Thank you for waiting patiently as we've gotten into our new season here. I'm so privileged to welcome on our guests for tonight, Tyler and Brianna of Duo Vivace, and in part from Uncommon Events, which we will hopefully have the pleasure of hearing more about that later on tonight. For now, I am going to let Tyler and Brianna take it away and play us some wonderful music tonight.
Thank you both.
Hello, everyone, and thank you so much for having us. My name is Tyler Lustig. This is Brianna Schwanbeck on the cello, and collectively we make up Duo Vivace. As Duo Vivace, we play a whole wide variety of shows. Like we've played at 200 Main and the Lakely in downtown Eau Claire. But we also play a good amount of private events as well as weddings. So the piece that you just heard was Jesu, Joy of Man's Desiring by J.S. Bach. That's a super common wedding standard that is very commonly played when the bride is walking down the aisle. Brianna and I have played this piece at a good few number of weddings. Like one comes to mind that we played in Rochelle, Wisconsin at St. Adalbert's Church. Beautiful wedding, beautiful church, amazing place to play. And we've just been playing all over Wisconsin with like ceremonies and private events like that. The next one that we'll play for you all tonight is another one that is sometimes played at wedding like cocktail events and things like that. But you'll also certainly hear it at like gigs and parties and things like that. And also by one of my favorite musical groups ever, the Beatles. This is Hey Jude. Hope you enjoy.
The next piece we're going to play for you tonight is maybe one of the
biggest tear jerkers of any wedding standard you'll hear out there. This is Can't Help Falling in Love, as popularly recorded by Elvis. Thank you.
Hello everybody, welcome back to Sounds of the Valley. I'm Nathan Blazer. You're at the interview portion of our episode tonight. I have with me Tyler and Brianna of Duo Vivace. Tyler, Brianna, how are you doing tonight?
Doing great.
Better now.
Thanks for having us.
That's good to hear. Well, I've been very excited to be able to have you on. I know that this has been something we've been trying to coordinate for a hot minute now, so it's very exciting for me. I'm terribly sorry, though. You're doomed as you have sat on the couch, so that means I get to do the thing that musicians hate. I get to ask you questions and you have to answer them. And they're questions about yourselves. Isn't that lovely? Isn't it such a fun time?
All right, hit me.
All right.
Whatever you got, Nathan.
So we'll start with some softballs. How long have you both been musicians? How long?
You got me.
How long have you like both been like learning, doing music, etc.?
I've been playing the cello for 14 years.
Nice.
I don't know if I have a specific number on it, but I've been playing since I was, I guess since I was about 9 or 10 years old. So about 13, 14 years. Yeah, that was the same amount of time. Not cello, piano.
So, what is it then that kind of kept you going and kept you in music for all those years?
I think for me it was because I was competitive, and it was something that I could, like with solo and ensemble and things like that, I could get like a medal, and I wasn't really like the person that was into sports. I was just kind of like, yeah, I can get like a music medal. Like, thought that was kind of neat. So that was kind of a driver. And it was just something that's kind of like relaxing, an outlet, and it's just productive. I feel like when you're a kid and looking to stay out of trouble.
Very fair.
I would say that when I was developing my when I was developing my brain fart. Well, when I was developing as a musician, I guess I found a lot of solace in the collaborative aspects of music. I just had a lot of experiences going through middle school and high school, where I was inspired by a lot of musicians who I guess at the time I viewed were above me. But now, like as I've kind of gotten, as I've matured more as a person and as a musician, I've kind of realized we're all on the same level in that we're all just making music. And it's kind of little bits like that where I just kind of keep adding to my musical philosophy and just my general worldview of experience, that I'm more and more inspired by the things that I see every day and just find a way to express that musically.
Nice. Yeah, I think I always like to kind of start out with some of those questions just because to me, for once, we have a night where all three people on screen are classically trained musicians. That's not normally the case with Sounds of the Valley. We get a lot of people that just pick it up as a hobby, and you get very different answers. And so I think it's very interesting to hear about other people's process that underwent being a person in band or orchestra, etc., as it's just a whole different ballgame. So let's fast forward a good few number of years then. What inspired you all to form Duo Vivace?
I've got some thoughts on this. I think it was about a year and a half ago that I saw Brianna performing with another piano player at 200 Main, and I was like, man, that looks like a really fun time. I don't think I've ever performed with a classical musician in more of like an improvisatory context like they were in that moment. And after that show, Brianna and I were talking. I was like, man, that's such a cool idea that you guys were going for. And Brianna said something along the lines of like, yeah, we should do some collaborations like that, because I have always wanted to play Despacito in on my cello in any way I can. And that gave me an idea to kind of start putting together something like what we've been doing with Duo Vivace, because I in addition to being a performing musician as a piano player and a composer, I also really enjoy arranging music in any way, shape, or form. I've arranged charts for like my own quintet. I've arranged music for a whole bunch of different settings, and I figured this was just a really good opportunity to keep working on that. So I was like, Despacito. I as soon as Brianna said that, I was like, I just like a million ideas of like how would this work in a piano cello format, and then that just kind of like that snowballed into like, oh, how would other charts like Dancing Queen and Can't Help Falling in Love and like all of like my favorite Beatles tunes like Hey Jude, and we have like Norwegian Wood, and Something, and all these different Beatles tunes in our repertoire. All these ideas kind of started like pouring out. So for me, that's where it started, was just like kind of taking some of my absolute favorite tunes and playing it on, and making them like refined and classy with the cello, and with Brianna's tone on her cello. Like, how could you not? It's amazing to listen to.
Yeah, and at the time I was in the process of starting a business, Uncommon Events, which I'm the co-owner. And there's like a need that I noticed, which is what prompted my business partner Emily and I to start Uncommon Events. And it was just, there's like this gap in Eau Claire. Like, you've got tons of musicians, you've got tons of people who want live music, but there's no one coordinating it. And so anyways, I was creating that business at the time when Tyler and I were kind of experimenting with this duo, and I was like, man, this would be great. Like, it fits into people's weddings really well. You can play all sorts of different types of music with this instrumentation. You can add instruments. You can get like a really decent book together to play at weddings, but then you can also use this repertoire to play at a restaurant, at a wine bar, at a corporate event, like really anywhere. So it was just super versatile, and I think it just went over really well. So we continued to learn more repertoire, and we continue to add to it. So I think we were just both kind of surprised by that, and we just kept the momentum going.
Okay. I'm personally gonna try and put a mental pin in Uncommon Events. Real quick though, Brianna, can you say Despacito?
Despacito?
Tyler, can you say Despacito again?
Despacito?
Despa?
Despacito? Or Despacito?
Despacito?
Despacito.
Is that how you're like supposed to say it?
It's the emphasis is not the pa.
So
But they sing
it's like,
Despacito. That's what they say.
Yeah, but the word itself is Despacito.
Fine.
Despacito.
If you say so.
Yeah.
I'll take your word for it. All I hear them sing on that song is Despacito.
I'll have you know I'm a very
Despacito.
knowledgeable source. I took Spanish up until my first year of college.
Okay.
Very knowledgeable on that.
I'll take your word for it, because I think that was the last time I took it too.
So, kind of continuing on with a couple more questions about Duo Vivace before we get to Uncommon Events. What would you say is like your favorite thing that you've done together? Be it, say, like a certain gig that you've had, maybe like a certain arrangement that you worked on together, etc.
Yeah, there's been a couple of them. One of them was a masquerade ball at the Pablo Center. This is actually something we got asked to do kind of last minute, so it really pushed, both of us, but mostly Tyler from an arranging perspective. Tyler arranged all these beautiful kind of mysterious waltzes for this masquerade, and we probably had about 5 days to rehearse everything, so it really pushed me from a playing standpoint. It really pushed Tyler from an arranging standpoint, and we just worked at it super hard all week, and it turned out to be a beautiful event. We were really proud of how that turned out, and we got to add a ton of repertoire to our books, and something that's a different genre too. Like, it was kind of around the time of like Halloween, I think, so we had some kind of spooky stuff in there, and it was really fun. I think we both really enjoyed it.
Yeah, definitely. That was like the most last minute thing that I've ever had to just like cram, and like barely a week before the gig. I think it was like 6 days or something.
Yeah,
right?
I called Tyler. I'm like, hey, you want to do a gig? And he's like, yeah, sure. And then I told him what it was, and he was like, oh, okay.
It was a super fun event, though. It was
I feel like I do that a lot to you.
Hey, that's the life of a musician, you know. Sometimes something just pops up, and you're just like, oh, I gotta do this. And it's like for me, it's all just in the name of just making music, and like whatever we can do to be doing that. And the gig itself was super cool. It's like probably one of the classiest shindigs I've ever had a pleasure to be a part of. It was like it was like Brianna said, it was a masquerade ball. I've never been to a masquerade ball before, but we had to like order. At least, like, I guess we didn't have to, but we just wanted to go the extra mile. Mm-hmm. We ordered these like super nice masks like online, and like I just felt so classy wearing like my tuxedo and this mask, just like playing one of the nicest grand pianos in the entire building, and there were
hoop dancers too, and
Yeah.
and there was a whole big stage where Uncommon Denominator performed too. And it was just a super cool event, and just like throwing together all those arrangements and like the week together, like the week before that, just to to perform it all and like time everything out. It was one of those moments as a musician where I'm like, I put all this hard work into this, and just the payoff was
Yeah, we
so
both just
nice.
felt really proud.
That sounds like it was a really amazing and fantastic experience. And just listening to the both of you talk about it, I can tell that it's probably something that's really going to be in your heads for a really long time, as it should be. So now for one of maybe our harder hitting questions. Why is it that music matters to you? Why? We talked about a little bit at the beginning of why you stayed in music, with your own various reasons, but why is it that you now devote your professions to doing it,
I think, I kind of said I'm a little competitive, and I've had a lot of people say, oh, you can't be a professional musician, or you can't have a normal job and still pursue music. And I kind of just wanted to be like, well, yeah, I can. I do that a lot in my life, honestly. It's a good and a bad thing. But there's other reasons too. Like, I think music is extremely emotional. It can make people cry. It can make them smile. It can make them feel extremely deep emotions. And for me, when I'm playing music that I love, it's also very emotional for me. It can just, make you feel like people talk about after they work out, they get like a rush of like endorphins. It's kind of like that after you come off of like a really great performance. Just a really good feeling. So I love that, like, not only for myself, but also for other people, like, just giving them that experience of hearing the music and knowing that I'm putting like my heart and soul into it, and they're getting to listen to like the result of that.
For me, I would I copy and paste a lot of that. But also, like, for me, music is humanity reflected in the most artistic way. As corny as it might sound, music is life, and life is music. And for me, there's a very spiritual thing to the way, the headspace that I get into when I'm performing, especially in like a improvisatory context as a jazz piano player, where like for me, when I'm improvising, it's a language of its own, and it's all about having a conversation with the people that you're performing with. Not just the people you're performing with, but having a conversation with the audience too. Because like, especially in the music that I feel most comfortable in like jazz music, it's a dialogue on decades, quite literally like a century and a half of just history, and just going back and like we're just talking about some of our favorite musical moments and how we can keep pushing them forward. And that for me is another one of the biggest aspects of music for me, is the collaborative aspect of it. I've had some really profound and meaningful like musical collaborations over the last few years. When I was doing grad school down at Northern Illinois, and also now now that I've ever returned to the Eau Claire area, Duo Vivace is certainly one of those deep and meaningful collaborations for me. And there's just a lot of other ones in particular for me, having come back to Eau Claire, which is my hometown. Just getting to kind of collaborate with some amazing musicians and make some amazing musical moments just always keeps me coming back. Because like, if there's one more thing I can add, like as a freelance musician, which is essentially like my day job these days, there's many things that come up where I'm like, why? like there's so much to do, so many different things to keep organized, what's going on. There is always something that pulls me back of like, oh yeah, that's why I'm doing it. And like there's always no doubt that things will come back, and that I just keep pushing forward in the good name of making music.
Those were both really just wow answers. You know, it's just one of those things where it's like you just kind of like, at least I was myself, just kind of had to stop and just take those both in, because a lot of that I feel also resonates with me, and I think it also resonates with a lot of other people out there too. Yeah, it's one of those moments where it's just kind of fuzzy and feel good. But I guess moving down to a little bit more brass tacks, Brianna, we have been hearing about Uncommon Events for a hot minute now. You've mentioned that it is a company service that people can use to book a lot of different musicians for all sorts of different types of events. Can you maybe talk about like what sorts of events you have done, what kinds of different artists are all a part of that?
Yeah. So like you said, Uncommon Events is a live music coordination service that is owned by myself and my business partner, Emily Watkins. But we focus on creating, I guess kind of the way we market it is like a uniquely curated music experience for really any event that you would want music at. We do a lot of weddings. We do some events at the Eau Claire Golf and Country Club. We've done some holiday parties, like corporate events, things like that. And it's been pretty busy. We probably contract over 30 different musicians in the Eau Claire area. And it really just depends on like what the client is looking for. So Emily or I meet with the client. We figure out what they want in terms of music, whether it's for their wedding, for their holiday party. And then we just think about, okay, well, like which musicians do we know that would be the best fit for this? And then we reach out to them and see if they're interested. And then we kind of coordinate and curate that music. We do it all for the client, so they don't have to worry about, for example, if they have a cover band or they want to book like Uncommon Denominator, for example, they wouldn't have to reach out to all 8 musicians or write 8 checks or, you know, talk back and forth with a band member. It's just kind of nice. They can have like one point of contact. They can book multiple services. So a lot of weddings will do like a cover band for the reception, a jazz trio for cocktail hour, our piano cello duo for the ceremony. And so right there you might have 12 different musicians, and the client doesn't have to worry about reaching out or coordinating any of it. It's what our business does for them. So I think it's like a really easy, simplified way for people to get live music. And it's also provided a lot of opportunities for really talented musicians here that want gigs.
That's awesome. So, as we sort of approach the end of the interview of doom, are there any side projects, any other things that y'all want to mention, any things you want to plug? Brianna, do you want to tell how people can reach Uncommon Events and all of those sorts of good things?
Sure. Yeah. So you can book our duo, Tyler and I, through Uncommon Events. You can book other musicians through Uncommon Events, and you can just reach out. We have a Facebook page and an Instagram. If you just search Uncommon Events, you'll find it. Otherwise, you can email livemusic.wi@gmail.com for any booking inquiries, or if you're a musician looking to play at different events, you can reach out to us, and we would love to chat more, learn more about what you're looking for in terms of gigs and stuff like that. But yeah.
I myself am involved with a wide variety of groups, including those through Uncommon Events. Like we have the piano cello duo, but I also play with a few other groups that are kind of like pieced together per the needs of Uncommon Events and the individual event. But I also have some of my own projects. One of those projects that I'm involved with is a quartet called Cat and the Hats. This one features Kat Sherman, an incredible local vocalist. Where we also have myself, saxophonist Jordan Cox, and bassist Hannah Sternberg. We basically back up Kat as we play some of our favorite jazz standards. Another project that I probably do on about a daily basis, about a monthly basis, is another duet that I perform with Twin Cities guitarist Dean Granrose. Dean is kind of like a Twin Cities like legend of the jazz scene there, and I am incredibly fortunate to be able to collaborate with him. We basically, in the same vein of Cat in the Hats, we choose our favorite jazz standards, but it's not quite as straightforward as just like playing the form down and trading solos. It's a lot more loose and abstract. So if you're into some more like loose, deep improvisatory stuff, we play at 200 Main, the Lakely, either one, every other month. Otherwise, I have my own quintet, the Tyler Lustig Quintet, which, little plug, we have some recording projects in the books of some of my own original compositions. No idea when those recordings will be released because we haven't quite recorded them yet. But those will be coming to fruition in the coming months. So we'll be recording some of my own original compositions, which are deeply informed by some of my favorite jazz composers, including Chick Corea, Thelonious Monk, and the great Wayne Shorter, who just passed away a few days ago. So otherwise, you can follow my schedule on tylerlustig.com, TYLERLUSTEK, all one word. And then you can also follow my musical expeditions and see where I'm playing next at my Instagram at Tyler Lustig Jazz.
Awesome. Well, thank you both so much for coming on tonight. It's been an absolute pleasure to have you, and we will see you all back at the end of the show.
particular favorite of mine entitled Girl from Ipanema. I'm sure many of you have heard that one. That's by the great Brazilian composer Antonio Carlos Jobim. As duo Vivace, Brianna and I draw on a very wide variety of musical styles. So earlier on you heard some classical music and some pop music from the Bach and Elvis and the Beatles, but we also like to bring some jazz standards in every now and then. So that, like from what you just heard there from Girl from Ipanema, that kind of shows a little bit of our jazz improvisation side. And we'd like to close out our set by playing a fan favorite of sorts. This one always goes over well at our engagements. This is ABBA's Dancing Queen. Hope you enjoy.
absolutely lovely and an absolute pleasure to have the both of you on here. I really hope that y'all had a great time tonight. Real quick before we exit out and wrap up the show for tonight, are there any last things that y'all want to plug? Where can people find you, your music, all that sorts of good, funky, fresh stuff?
Yeah, so once again, my name is Tyler Lustig. You can follow my schedule at tylerlustig.com. In addition to playing with Duo Vivace with Brianna, I am also a jazz pianist, and I play all kinds of different engagements and collaborations. So you can follow. You can, like I said, you can follow my schedule on tylerlustig.com. Otherwise, if you want to follow my musical journeys and see where I'm playing next, you can also check me out on Instagram at tylerlustigjazz.
And I'm Brianna Schwanbeck, one of the co-owners of Uncommon Events, and you can find us on Facebook if you search Uncommon Events LLC. Yeah, all the information for our website, everything like that will be on there at Uncommon Events on Facebook.
Awesome. Well, without further ado, thank you both for the absolutely lovely set tonight. And to our viewers at home, I hope that you had as good of a time as I did tonight. Without further ado, thank you and good night, everyone.